So, we return after a mini week break, and the next track is Hell, or also known as BAKU. Man, I love this track since it is such a wild card, and whosever idea it was to push this race towards the end of the season needs to be set for generations, since we will either see the most boring race ever, or we will see one of the most chaotic and time-changing events here. Anyways, with this race also comes Singapore directly after it, where there will be another month-long break, for some reason, so we gotta hope that we could be fed until late October. So, how do I think Baku will go? Well, in my opinion, I think this race weekend will be one of, if not the best race of the season, since with the grid mighty close, and spoiler alert, it will probably be even closer this weekend, I can't see why the race won't provide action that will please all of us and our small brains. Also, this weekend in general is a great week since we have a quadruple header since we have F1, the title decider in IndyCar, WEC racing at Fuji, and NASCAR Cup Series racing all on Sunday. Man, what an amazing time to be alive. So having said that, let us find out and discuss the teams that will be bringing upgrades this weekend that can hopefully deliver results. Let us talk about the drama that has happened since last week at Monza, and of course, let us make some very stupid and very delusional predictions for this weekend's Azerbaijan Grand Prix. But before we go any further, I want to give a quick shout out to all members of the flock, and if you haven't joined yet, please do so we can fight against the FOM Devils and so your name looks pretty in the comment section. So, enough yapping, and here is the weekend preview. So, we start with upgrades like usual, and we do have a variety of teams bringing upgrades. However, for most teams, this mainly consists of track specifications or personnel upgrades. So, first off for upgrades, we have Williams, and after being relatively quiet at the start of the year, they're now lining upgrades left and right, and they seem to be paying off, since Albon is starting to hunt down the points position more often, and with Colapinto so far not binning it yet and looking pretty quick, they could really end the year on a high and maybe leave a nice impression for Sainz. So, Williams are bringing upgrades similar to the ones in Zandvoort, except according to them, they will work better than they did, and let's hope so, since I think Alex qualified P8 before he was disqualified, so let's see if that performance can be replicated, or maybe even exceeded by not only one driver, but now, perhaps two drivers. Sorry, Logie Bear. Next up on the upgrades list, we have VCarb, and they need to figure something out ASAP, since they have brought upgrades pretty consistently this season. However, almost none of them are working, and with Haas catching up so quickly, they better hope that these upgrades will work like a miracle, otherwise we will probably see another constructor's bottle from the team like in 2021. The upgrade seems to be a new front wing for the car, and if this works, they could cook, since Pure in 2021 got a podium, and in 22 and 23, they cooked and scored points as well. So, let us hope for VCarb's sake that they cook and keep the battle enticing for 6th. Next on the upgrades list, we have Aston Martin, and they're bringing parts for their car, but we don't care about that. The real upgrade is Adrian Newey, since if it's already not confirmed, it's being reported that Newey will sign with Aston Martin for a 5-year deal worth a ginormous amount of money. And that right there is the real upgrade, since starting 2025, they can genuinely be competent with one car at least. Imagine Fernando Alonso getting win 33 and then winning the championship in 2026 as a send-off gift since he will probably retire that year. Man, could already taste the joy. But the reality is Stroll's still gonna mess up the development, so put your pants back on. Now for the top dogs, and we have Red Bull first up, since they will be bringing some parts of the car that can hopefully give them performance. However, I wouldn't be optimistic, and I say this because the parts will probably be there to aid in downforce, since this car hates low, medium, and high-speed corners more than the 2014 Ferrari, and we all know how bad that car was, so they're going to need some corner speeds if they want to be competitive. But also, that sacrifices top speed, which is also bad, since look at the damn track. If you're a Red Bull fan, get ready to learn midfield, buddy, since this is probably going to be a bad weekend. Mercedes are the next team bringing upgrades here, and while they still are fast, it seems that the momentum from Austria to Spa has run out, which is sad because those were genuinely some of the best races this season, which is also pretty ironic since they used to make races boring. But unlike Red Bull, I would be optimistic if you are a Merc fan, since the upgrades will likely be parts that are track specific, meaning that if they do work, you're in for a cook sesh, and if they don't work, then oh well, you'll probably still be in podium contention since the track is pretty similar to Spa, so I would say expect a good result regardless. McLaren is the second to last team to bring upgrades here, and there's really not much else to say about them since they'll probably bring something so microscopic but somehow add a second. Plus, you'll literally have Fat Brown threatening upgrades since he says there's a floor they're not bringing unless they need it, so that's comforting to hear. Anyways, they will likely be in winning contention, but tell me something else that is new. Finally, we have the greatest team ever made, Ferrari. And we are bringing some small upgrades according to Fred Vasseur, and we should be competitive here since the track is of course filled with lots of low and medium speed corners, meaning that the car should love that. Plus, Charles always does well here. Or not, but this is a new Charles that hasn't crashed a lot this season, so spoiler alert, expect the predictions to be very, very delusional and full of copium. Anyways, we now have drama to talk about, and for a 1 week break, there is a bit of drama, so let us deep dive into them. And first off, we have McLaren, and I have already said everything I need and wanted to say about them, so if you haven't watched the video, please do so, especially if you are a McLaren or Lando fan and want someone to hate on. Next, we have the prospect of Adrian Newey joining Aston Martin, and like I said previously, it is rumored that he has signed the contract to join Lex Luthor's F1 team for 5 years, which means that Fernando will obviously win his third, right? Well, probably not, since we forget that even though Fernando is the best driver at the team, Mr. Buttcrack here has said that the team revolves around Lance for his extreme knowledge of cars and his speed. So realistically, even if Newey builds a good car, it is going to be driven by Lance, which probably means upgrades still won't matter or won't work at all. And the contract is rumored to be upwards of $30 million per year, and he is tasked with car development for 2026. And let us not forget, Dan Fallows is at Aston Martin as well, and Newey and Fallows were brilliant at Red Bull. So, if you are an Aston Martin fan still, first off, congratulations for not being driven to insanity yet, and secondly, I would be pretty optimistic for the future. Next up, we have the FIA's decision on McLaren's and Mercedes' front wing, and in case you didn't know, Red Bull and Ferrari protested to the FIA about McLaren's and Mercedes' front wing since it showed signs of flexing, which basically means they get an advantage in performance due to the wing's movements, and this is supposed to be illegal. As a matter of fact, Red Bull in 2021 got in trouble for this same exact reason, so the expectation was McLaren and Mercedes need a new wing. However, the decision was ruled in favor to McLaren and Mercedes, meaning they keep their wing and it is legal this season. And I say this season because the true reasoning was that the season is currently too far deep to force a team to change a car attribute, so they basically said it might be wrong, but it's too late to change it. Which is bullshit still in my opinion, but I'll refrain. Vasseur and Horndog have said that if the decision ruled in favor for McLaren and Mercedes, then they will bring their own flexi wing, so let's see if it magically adds performance or if it doesn't. Finally, we have Kevin Magnussen getting a race ban from Monza and being replaced by Behrman for Baku. Man, this guy is just too funny. He's in his last season of F1 most likely, and I'm happy he's leaving with a bang since he has been one of the most funniest drivers this season. From his terrorism in Jeddah to him getting jumped by 4 cars in Zandvoort. Man, I'm gonna miss him, but at least Ollie is here to cook hopefully, and we will be there if he does. Finally, the part you have been waiting for, and we have my predictions. They're definitely not going to be delusional. As always, it must be stated that we will predict 3 things: the top 5 in the quali, the top 5 in the race, and a random prediction from any session. It should also be noted that these predictions are based on nothing but pure vibes, so bear with me. Anyways, let's begin with our predictions, and we first have quali predictions, and I predict that the top 5 on Saturday starting with 5th will be Oscar Piastri, and 4th will be Carlos Sainz, and 3rd will be George Russell, and 2nd will be Lando Norris, and for pole position I have Charles Leclerc. Now for the race predictions, and I predict that the top 5 on Sunday starting with 5th will be Oscar Piastri, and 4th will be Lando Norris, and 3rd will be George Russell, and 2nd will be Carlos Sainz, and in 1st I have Charles Leclerc. Definitely not delusional here, I swear. Now for my random prediction, and I predict that Super Sub Ollie Behrman will perform well and will outperform Hulkenberg in the quali and race and maybe get points. And there is my weekend preview for this year's Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Man, I can't wait for this race, since again, I think this race will cook and will be one to remember in this season, so I can't wait to wake up at, let's see, 4 AM. Man, it better be worth it. So after looking at the upgrades teams will be bringing to the race that will hopefully give them performance, looking at the drama from the past weekend, and making some definitely not delusional predictions for the quali and race, I think we are going to be seated for a heater and we should all be very, very excited. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe since that would greatly help me out in making better content, and let me know in the comments what your predictions are, and as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.